Okay, good afternoon and welcome back to our cybersecurity class. This is our second class. Last week we discussed about what is the difference between layer 2 and layer 3 internet networking, and then we use Cisco Packet Tracer to explain about the differences between how a package move through a switch and how a package change its header when they go to when they went through a router. That's the difference between layer 2 and layer 3. And then you're assigned a quiz where the score of this quiz will be counted as a component in your final score. Okay. Let's discuss about our quiz. The first question is this. When IP packet move from this subnet to this subnet, as you can see, they are on a different subnet. Its header will change in. Remember, if you move a packet, an IP packet, from one subnet to another subnet, then it will change the layer 2. So the one who's going to change is the source and destination of the MAC address. And the source and destination of the IP address is still the same. Okay, so the answer is source and destination MAC address is still the same. Okay, now second question. A layer 2 switch only stores two information. The first one is the port status, whether there is a connected device on that port, and also the MAC address of the device that was connected to that port. So a layer 2 switch only stores two information. The first one is the port status. The second one is the MAC address of the device that connected to that port. So the answer is port status and also the MAC address. So we have two correct answers. Okay. Any question? No? Okay. No. Then let's move on to the third question. A router stores three information now. Differ with the layer 2 switch, in router, we have three information. And they are, right? Waiting and waiting. Okay. So a router stores the information. They are, first one is okay. Sorry, just got disconnected. Let me share again, and then still recording. Thank you. Now, from the previous question, you were asked about how many information there are in the layer 2 switch. The answer is 2. The first one is the port status, and the second one is the MAC address of the device that is connected to that port. And then, how about in router? How many information there are stored in the router? The answer is 3. There are 3 information stored in the router. Just like in Swiss, they have port status, and then the second one is the MAC address, and the third one is the IP address of that port. Not the IP address of the device that connected to that port, but the IP address of that port. So in router, every port has their own IP address. But in Swiss, there are no IP address. But in router, every port store two information, port status and also the MAC address. And also, we have to assign an IP address to that port. So we have three information for the port in the router. First one is the IP address, one is the MAC address. Okay, next question is from our example using packet tracer. When the client send IP packet to server, its application port number is where from our example using packet tracer, when the client send IP package to server, remember in our example using packet tracer, we use the HTTP protocol. In HTTP protocol, the application port is 80. And then that number is classified as a well-known port. So we have the destination port set to well-known port. So destination port is the port number 80. The destination is the server. So we want to send a package to a server, and then that destination port is 80, and 80 is a well-known port. However, the source port is the port that are going to be assigned randomly from the client side, and it's called a registered port. So a source port set to registered port. Remember, we have three types of port. The first one is the well-known port from port number 0 to 1023, and then we also have the registered port from port number 1024 up to 49,151. And the rest is the private port, private or dynamic port. Okay. Now, the last question from the quiz is, when IP packet move from this subnet to another subnet, so because they have different subnet, they have different IP address, the header that will not change is the IP address. So IP address will never change as long as we just move toward a layer 3, not using a proxy or not using a NAT, then everything will be the same for the IP address. So the answer is source and destination IP address will still stay the same. They will not change. Okay, that's for a little bit of remaining about last week material. So today we're going to discuss about web server and also the mail server, but usually we don't have time to discuss about the mail server. So all this time about the last semester, I usually stuck with the web server only. Okay. Now we are going to discuss how to develop web server and mail server. Okay, you have the lecture notes in here, so you can just. Okay, still waiting. So in this case, we're going to just discuss about the HTTP secure, and also the DNS. Now, to discuss about how HTTP, HTTPS, and DNS work, then you need to first install the VirtualBox from our Google Drive. And you can just click here, Google Drive. And then try to download from the folder virtual machine. And then there is an application called VirtualBox. I believe it's still version 6.1.32. And I upload this application February 19. So I think it's still a recent version. Okay. Once you install this VirtualBox, you get something like this. But probably we still have an empty virtual machine. But so in here, in the left pane, it's still empty. Probably, I don't know. Maybe you're already familiar with Oracle VirtualBox and you already installed VirtualBox and then you already installed a virtual machine there. I'm not sure. So probably you don't have anything yet in the VirtualBox Manager. And then you need to download two OVA file. The first one is the FreeBSD 4.11. This virtual machine will become our router and also our server. And then the second virtual machine that you're going to download is the Windows 98. Yes, it's a very old operating system, but the purpose of this class, the course is we can learn about how the network works, not about the operating system itself. Okay, so we're not going to exploit or maybe damage for both of the operating system, because Windows 98 is like what, 22, 24 years old, and the FreeBSD 4.11 is like what, I think 16 to 18 years old. It's a little bit newer than the Windows 98. So you need to download both virtual machine because the size is very small. As you can see in here, this PC, and then I have and this is virtual machine. Okay, so the Windows 98, the size of this virtual machine only 93 megabytes. I think it's quite small. And then the FreeBSD 4.11 only take about 260 megabytes compared to the original FreeBSD, the recent version. For example, like this, freebsd.org, and then, or probably you want to download the Ubuntu. It's up to you. If you have a good connection with the internet, you are free to use your own preferred operating system. If you prefer to use Ubuntu, then just go ahead. Okay, this is an example, download FreeBSD, and then this is the recent version, 12.3. And then you can see from here, the size is quite big. Wait, this is the ISO image. Okay, this is the checksum. Okay, this is FreeBSD. This one. So you need to download around 1 gigabyte. And I believe for some of us, it's quite big to download a 1 gigabyte file. So that's why in this course, we're going to use only FreeBSD 4.11. But if you have any good internet connection, then you are free to use your own preferred system. You can use Ubuntu server for your router and also the server. It's up to you. Because in Ubuntu, download, let's say Ubuntu server, and then just manual, and then what is the, okay, I'm using the, okay, you cannot see the size of this Ubuntu file, but actually it's around 1.8 gigabyte. So it's very big, even for me. Okay. Now, so Once you download the FreeBSD 4.11 on Windows 98, then you can just go through the lecture notes. For example, like this. Download both VM, and then from VirtualBox, choose file, import appliance, and then choose the OVA file you want, just something like this. So file, kemudian and then import, and then check the file. In my case is in the E drive here. Just click here, and then enter, and then it will tell you about this one is a FreeBSD 64-bit, etc. etc. The RAM is only 1 gigabyte, etc. And then just click enter, 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 and then it will just install your virtual machine in here. And then right once you import this FreeBSD 4.11, and then choose full clone, because you want to create from one virtual machine to become two virtual machine. One as a router, and and the second one is for the server. Okay, and then remember, in VirtualBox we have several types of network device. For example, like this. For the router, you need to activate or enable two network adapter. The first one is for the host only adapter, and the second one is for the bridge adapter. Okay. And then for the server itself, you just need only one network adapter, and this one is not enabled, and it was configured as a bridge adapter. And then for the client, the Windows 98, you need to set the network adapter as host only adapter. So now let's discuss first about what's the difference between host only adapter and then about the bridge adapter. Now, maybe some of you already familiar with about a virtual machine or the hypervisor. Let's talk about this first again. Okay. Now, let's say I have the hardware of my computer. This is the hardware, including the network interface card. Okay, and then to operate this hardware or this computer, I need something that we call operating system. You can either use the Windows or Ubuntu or etc. It's up to you. And then up to now, we already installed something that we call application called VirtualBox. So we have something that we call VirtualBox. Once you install the VirtualBox, it will create a virtual network interface card. So as if this VirtualBox has its own network interface card. And then on top of this VirtualBox, you can install your preferred operating system. For example, the FreeBSD. Let's say I'm going to create a machine here. So I'm going to create the hardware in here, including the network interface card, the virtual network interface card, and then I'm going to install operating system on top of this hardware. And then I can create another hardware along with its virtual network interface card with my own preferred operating system. And then I can install any application on top of the operating system. Okay. This is what we usually do using the virtual machine or hypervisor. Now, this network interface card can be configured with a lot of devices, a lot of setting. First one is something that we call host only. In host only, let's say this is the VirtualBox, and then this is the virtual machine, my virtual machine number 1, and then this is my virtual machine number 2, and both of their network interface card is configured as host only. So when a virtual network interface card configured as host only, they can only talk to each other. So they can only talk this network interface card to this network interface card. They don't have access to the internet. They don't have access to the hardware below of this VirtualBox. So no. When we are set up the network interface card as a host only, they can only talk to each other. Now, how about bridge? In bridge, let's say I have the third. Sorry, let's my boring face from that part to the left part. Let's say this is virtual machine number 3. So we have the hardware, and then this is the network interface card, and then let's say I have this network interface card configured as bridge. So this is host only, and this one is host only. And then this one is the bridge. In bridge, if we have application in here on top of the operating system, they will have access directly to the internet. So it's something like a virtual machine equal to my PC. So whenever I create a virtual network interface card using a bridge, then its network interface card can be accessible from my laptop. However, if you set the network interface card as host only, there is no way your laptop can access that network interface card because they can only talk to each other. So that's why in our case, we're going to create 3 virtual machines. The first one using Windows 98, and I'm going to set this network interface card as host only, and then I'm going to set up a router. Remember, in router we have 2 network interface card. Remember, the first one is host only, and then the second one is as a bridge. And then for our server, so this one is client, and this one is our router, and then this one is and this one is using the free BSD, and then for this one it has only one network interface card configured as bridge. So this one has a free BSD as the operating system, and then that's all. So because client and one side of the router is configured as other, and then the other side of bridge, and the server also configured as bridge, so they can talk to each other here. So now whenever the client want to access the server, they have to go through the router. So the client will have the IP address of a host only, and the router will be its gateway. Remember, whenever a client want to access an outside world, they will need its own IP address and its own also MAC address. And the last one is the IP address of the gateway, because Every time I want to access the outside world, I have to send this packets to the gateway and then expecting a return from the gateway itself. Okay. Sorry. Now, okay, sorry for almost 4 o'clock. So let's start by turning on our 3 virtual machine. The first one is the client. Start. Okay. While waiting, you can just also run the router and also the server. Router and also the server. And then wait. Okay, this is our router. And then there is our Windows 98 this one. Okay, just wait until they are already boot up. Okay, the Windows 98 is already turned on. Okay, just enter. You don't need a password here. And remember, the Windows 98 is still configured using only 16 colors in the desktop. So it's kind of hideous for you. So you cannot get true color from here. Okay, still waiting for the router and also the server. Okay, usually if I turn on up to 3 virtual machine, my laptop start to heat up. So this is my apology. I need to turn off my camera because it takes really a lot of deal about the heat of my laptop. Okay, please take my apology. I need to turn off my camera. Okay, now so we have 3 virtual machine. The first one is the client, and the second one is the router, and then the third one is the server. Now, remember, every time you click inside the virtual machine, like something like this, then your mouse will definitely go inside the virtual machine. If you want to go out from the virtual machine, just click the right control key. Right control key, press, and then you already get out of the virtual machine. Okay. However, we just click the start and then run and then type command. So you can use the command prompt. Okay. And then this is the command prompt. Then I'm going to click the right control key on my keyboard. And then let's check our IP address, ipconfig. Don't worry, it's already configured with the network necessary for you to connect to the server. So ipconfig, enter, and then you will get something like the IP address of RAN 192.168.56 and 112. This is not from DHCP, this is predefined. So this is a static IP address. Okay. And then the gateway is 56.113. Now, how about the router itself? The login is root, and then the password is cybersecurity. Like this. Don't worry, it's already printed out in here. Is it? Login as root with the password of cybersecurity. And remember, before you run the program, before you run the network, you need to prepare the network. Once you log into the router, run the shell script /router. It's something like this. Here. To set this virtual machine as a router, run as superuser dot slash router. Then it will configure itself as a router. And then for the second virtual machine, here the server, the login name is still same, root, and the password is also cybersecurity. And then in this virtual machine, you need to run the ./server. Is it one? Just remember which one you set as a router and which one you set as a server. Okay. And then once it configured itself as a server and also as a router, then it will reboot itself. And then everything will be ready. Now, let's check the IP address of this router. We're not using ipconfig because in Unix style, we have IF or interface config. However, in newer version of Ubuntu, you cannot use IF config. You can use the IP space A. So they restrict the usage of the IF config, the interface config. Instead, you can use IP space A, but not in here. In here, you can still use the IP config. Sorry, the IF config. Enter, and then this is. So the IP address. So we have two. Sorry, let's IF config and then pipe more. Okay, we have two Ethernet card or network adapter. The first one is called EM0. This one, EM0. And then this EM0 is configured with the IP address of 56.113. So it will become the gateway of the client, 56.113. So the IP address of the EM0 will become the gateway of the client. And then we also need the EM1, because remember in here, we have this network interface card that will be connected to the server. So this one has an IP address of a bridge. So it has a 192.168.1.100. So the IP address is different between EM0 and EM1. And the server itself, it has an IP address of 1.101. So it has a 1.100 and this one is 1.101. So as we can describe the topology of our network, it's something like this. So this is the client. It has an IP address of 192.168.56.112. And then this one is connected to the router. And then the router has the IP address of 192.168.56.113. Okay. Okay, and then the other side of the router has an IP address of 192.168.1.100. So something like this. And then we also have the server. And that has the IP address of 192.168. Okay, so this is our topology. The client has the IP address of 56.112. The router has two sides. First one is a gateway of the client, 56.1.113, and then the other side is 1.100, and the server itself is 1.101. Okay. Now, based on our lecture note, you need to test the network now. From client, open the command prompt window and then try to ping the server. Okay, this is the client, this is the router, and this is the server. Now, let's try to ping 192.168.1.101. It's the IP address of the server here. Okay, now enter. Oh, it's not connected. What happened? It said that request time out. Let's check out our lecture note. What's we supposed to do? If the ping return RTO, login as a root to router, and then run IPFW disable firewall. So, okay, so the router itself, in default, it has an firewall turned on. Okay, so just try to run the IPFW or IP firewall, disable firewall. Okay, now let's try to ping again. Okay, now it's connected. Okay, now now let's try to check the traffic between the client to the server. So we're going to capture the traffic between the client to the server by using TCP/DUM. So we're using TCP/DUM, or first you need to do change the directory to home manager is a user in the router and also in the server. Here is still empty, and then you can now run TCP/DUM, then -w, which means write. Please, this means please capture any traffic that flow through me and write the traffic as a file called, let's say, ping.pcap. Okay, now enter this one. Now let's try to send again the ping. Enter. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just Control C. And then you can see in this folder, you have a new file called ping.pcap. Now you can try to download this file, the pcap file, using your preferred FTP, or you can use the WinSCP, etc. In my case, I use the WinSCP. And then I'm going to try to connect to my router. Remember, my laptop has the same subnet with the bridge. So every time I configure a network interface card as a bridge, that means its IP address will be in the same subnet with my laptop. So in this case, I'm going to use my laptop to connect to this IP address because I want to connect to the router. I cannot access this IP address because this one is host only, but I can connect to this IP address. So in this case, I'm going to connect to 192, sorry, this one, 168.1.101. And then the username, manager, and then the password is, I believe it's still cybersecurity. Sorry, I believe I mistyped something. Cyber security. Okay, try to login. Okay. Oh, sorry. It's not 101. It's a server. Sorry. So, okay. Sorry, I need to connect to 100. DNSCP, very sorry about that. So that's why it's empty. Okay, 192.168.1.100. The username is manager and the password is cyber security. Login. Okay, now there is the ping.pcap. Now I can just try to okay, just try this one, ping pcap. Maybe I can just download. Okay, it works. And then let's close our WinSCP, and then we have now the ping.pcap, this one. Now let's try to open this pcap, packet capture. Now as you can see in here, we have several ping. How many ping? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 ping, 8 ICMP. The first one is the ping request. And the second one is the reply from the server. So that's why the source said it comes from 56112, which is the client, and the destination is the server. It's an ping request. And then the server respond by using echo reply from 1.101 to the client itself. So this is the first ping. This is the pair of the first ping. And then this one is the second ping. This one is the third ping. And then this one is the fourth or the last ping. Okay. You can also note from this one is the upstream, and this one is the reply or the response from the packet number 1. Okay. So when it happened, it's from the 1st March of 2022, today. So then it said also it's 9 a.m. anymore. 9 a.m. It's 4. So that's because in the timestamp, you still use the Unix timecode. So you need to add, for example, because we are in Bandung, I'm in Bandung, we need to add 7 more hours. So 9 plus 7 is 16. So 16:09, 16 p.m. So it's 16 p.m. Okay, this is the ping packet. Now let's move on. Now we want to try to use the HTTP because the purpose of this class is to use the HTTP. Now let's check our lecture note. Now open the web browser. This is Internet Explorer. Yes, it's a very old web browser, but don't worry, we just only need to use it using our no harm done. You need to exit first in here, and then try to run the Internet Explorer. Okay, now I cannot find the msn.com. Now, before we start, remember to clear the web browser cache. So we need to, where is it? This one, Internet option, and then delete files. Delete all offline content. Okay, now, okay. Now, before we try to retrieve the web content of the server, first we need to run the TCP dump again. So I'm still inside the Windows NT, so I need to press the right control on my keyboard. Okay, now router, and then I need to capture the packet TCP dump W or write into a file called http://pcap. Okay, don't enter it yet. We need to try to access the server, and then we need to run something like this. Sorry, not cat, but tail -f. Okay. Still a little bit forgot about this. Is this correct? Yeah, this one. Now, so the command is tail space -f space /var/log/httpd -access.log. It's the access log of the web server. So every time a client try to access the server, we can identify who's the client. Okay, now let's try to capture the packet. Okay, now try to access the server 192.168.1.101. Okay, now, let me check first. Okay, so we can see what happened in the server side. Enter. Now, as you can see in here, the server understand that, oh, there is a client try to access my content, and its IP address is from 56.112, which is the IP address of the client. And the access timestamp is the 1st of March 2022. It sent a comment called get whatever in your root using protocol HTTP 1.1. And it comes from a client using, oh my God, Windows 98. So whatever your web browser use in your client, the server will understand the type of your web browser, even your operating system. Okay. This Windows 98, Microsoft Internet Explorer 5. So the server will understand that there is a client. Are you sure it's come from Windows 98? It's very old. And it used the Microsoft Internet Explorer 5.0. But everything that you access from the client, the server will understand. Okay, now let's try to wait. Let's try to put an enter in here so we can understand the difference between the first session and the second session. Previously, we used the first session. The first session is the one that client send a request, and then the server respond with the response. So request, respond. Client send request, the server sends response. So request, respond. Okay, so that's one session. Now we're going to use the second session. I'm going to try to enter this again. Still have access to the server, but what is the difference between the first session and the second session? In the first session, the client need to download several files. The first one is the index.html, and then the second is the client need to download an image file called apc _pb.gif, and then the That file is the mod_ssl_sp.gif is also an image. And then the fourth one is the OpenSSL-ICS, etc. And then the last one is weather.jpg. So in one session, for the first session, the client need to download everything, including the weather of the Apache. However, for the second session, they only need to access the index HTML. They don't need to download the image. They don't need to download the feather.jpg. They don't need to download the OpenSSL JPG or GIF, etc. Only the index.html. Why? That's because all of this image file already stored in the web browser. So that's why before we start the connection, we need to clear the cache first in here, internet option, and then delete file, delete all of offline content. Okay. Okay. Now, let's try it again. And then the Apache GIF, and then mod SSL. So that's the meaning of session and web cache browser. Okay. Now, let's move on to the TCP dump. Just Control C, and then now we already have the http.pcap. Oh, it's a very big file, but don't worry, you just need to download this file. 192.168.110, sorry, 100. And then the username is manager, is cyber security. We have the http.pcap, and then just try to download this one. Okay. Now close the WinSCP and then try to open this http. Okay. Oh, it's a very big file. Now, what comes before the HTTP connection is the three-way handshaking: TCP, SYN, TCP, SYN acknowledge, and then TCP acknowledge. This is what we call three-way handshaking, a TCP three-way handshaking. So before we start, or before a client try to access a server, because HTTP need to use TCP, then before the start of connection, the client needs to say something like hello, hello, but by using SYN. SYN, and then the server will respond with SYN acknowledge, and then the client is supposed to tell again, okay, acknowledge. So you're alive. I'm going to send you a request. Okay, this is my request. Get everything from your document root using protocol HTTP/1.1. Okay, and this comes from the client to the server. And then the server will send a response. This is a request, and this is the response. The response is, first is the status 200. Okay, so I'm going to send you my everything that inside the index HTML, inside the document root. So the server will respond with 200. Okay, this is the response code. There are several response code. You can see it from the, let's say, from the Wikipedia. So you don't need to read again my slide, then you can just from the Wikipedia. Okay, so HTTP response code. Yeah. Okay, so we have one XX, this is informational response. 2XX, that means the connection is successful. Like for example, 200 is okay. Then 3XX, it could be 300, 301, 303, 302, etc. Then you need to take something to complete the request. So you still hanging up on me, so you need to send something to me. I'm the server. And then 4XX mean there is a client error, bad syntax, or your request cannot be fulfilled, etc. So something like 404, it's something like I cannot find what is you're looking for. So I'm going to send you 404 because it's your error. You send something, you ask something from my part, I'm the server. You ask something, you request something on my part, but I cannot find anything there. So it's your fault. It's your fault, then I'm going to send you 404 not found. But if I'm the one who is responsible who give you an error, then I'm going to give you 5XX. For example, server error. Let's say I cannot access the database because you talk to me. I'm for example, the Java, and while I'm trying to access your data, I'm getting a rejection from the database. So I'm going to send you server error. I am error. So please try again at a later time. So we have usually we have 404 not found and 505 server error. Okay, so this is the HTTP response code. So 200 is also a response code saying that everything is okay. You can move on. Now, next is let's say this is the requesting the file of the image, and then this is also requesting the image. This is also requesting the image, and then oh sorry, not this one, this one, and then this is the second session. In the second session, we also need to send a three-way handshaking again. Why? Because there is a distinguished session between the first session to the second session. We cannot give information to the server. I'm the one who's sending you the first session. Why are you asking me to send a three-way handshaking again? That's because the server cannot identify who are you. So that's why in programming language, in the web application programming language, we need to store something that we call session. And that session is usually called cookies. But that's out of topic from our cybersecurity course. Okay, so let's go again. So this tree is the first three-way handshaking, and this one is the client asking for the content of the web server, including this one, and also this one. And then this is the second session. Again, the client needs to send the three-way handshaking, and then the server will say, okay, it's 200, okay. And then continuation, blah, 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 etc. Okay, that's what happened using the HTTP. Okay, well, if you can see in here, then you can just use something like this. This is for the TCP. Okay, let's try it out. This TCP. And this is the SYN flag. Here, the SYN flag, and this is the SYN acknowledge flag. So the SYN is active, the SYN flag is active, the acknowledge flag is also active. But in here, only the acknowledge flag is active. So the first SYN only, both SYN and acknowledge, and then the last one is acknowledge only. Okay. Now, okay. Any questions so far about DHCP? You can just try to download from the our Google Drive. This is the file pcap. That's not not in the recent, not the recent pcap they already captured previously. It's from the last semester, but still the same. This is the HTTP, and this is the okay. So we don't have the SCMP. So I'm going to just upload the ping here. Okay. Now, based on our lecture note, we also need to access using the secure channel HTTPS. Okay, so sorry. HTTPS, and then this is the server, and then remember to clear the web browser cache. Delete file, delete all offline content. Okay. Okay. Or you can, if you want to make sure, then you can just try to reload again the Internet Explorer. Just wait. Okay, enter this option, and then delete files, delete all offline content. Okay. Now I'm going to access the server, but by using HTTPS. HTTPS 192.168.1.101. Okay, but for that I need to capture the file. Okay, now enter. There is a security warning. Just click OK. Do you trust this server? Yes. Start downloading. Okay. Now you already download the web content, but by using the HTTPS. But in terms of the Apache log, it's just the same. We can also see there's a client from this IP address trying to download my image, inventor.jpg, and then try to download the index.html, Apache, OpenSSL, etc. Okay. Now, the second test is by using name. Instead of using IP address, we can use server.mynet.id. Enter. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Okay. So now we can stop the capture and then try to download the https.pcap. 192.168.1.100 manager, and the password is cyber security. Enter. And then this is the HTTPS. Try to download. Okay. Now let's try to open the HTTPS. Now, what is the difference between HTTP with the HTTPS? The first one is client need to exchange the key because it has a public key infrastructure. Then the client need to download the public key from the server. So first you need to say hello, and then the server will say hello, and then please exchange our key. And then now you cannot explore what is the key in using. Now you cannot use Wireshark to open the key because it's hidden. Wireshark is supposed to hide everything between the key exchange. So after that, then you can just send something like this. This is the client key exchange. This is the specification for the typer. It's like a challenge key. And then after that, then you can just three-way handshaking again. Send acknowledge. And then it said that, okay, you need to say hello again because the first one is failed. There is a reset in here. And then hello, change the perspective. Now it works. So how come the first key exchange failed? That's because we're still using the Windows 98. Well, you can read from somewhere from the internet, and starting from 2003, I believe, Internet Explorer 5 is considered to be very not secure. So every time Microsoft Internet Explorer 5 try to access a website using HTTPS, then the server will deny that access. So that's why the Internet Explorer 5 will try to upgrade its zipper key, and then that's why the second communication is successful. And then you cannot. Where's the data? There is no get. There is no the file of feather.jpg. There is no file of the SSL mode.gif. Where's the file? That's because everything is encrypted. As we can see in here. There's the data. Wait. Okay, this one, for example. This, you cannot open the TLS because everything is encrypted. You can only open the TCP layer, IP layer, layer 2, but you cannot open the TLS. Why? That's because the PKI, the public infrastructure, works on this layer. So everything is encrypted. So Wireshark is not supposed to tell you about what is the content of that file. So that's why this one is empty, but it's still there. If you want to open it, then you can just use the TCP dump using a raw export. But we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so that's about the SSL. Now, how about the usage of, previously I'm using the IP address to access the server, but the last session, I asked for the server.mynet.id. So in this case, we need to ask first the DNS. This is the DNS. So what is the IP address of server.mynet.id? It will ask the server. That's because in client, we only configure the DNS server. Now this, let's try ipconfig/all. This is the, okay, where is the, okay. I cannot see the DNS server in here, but you can try it in the, by using network neighborhood, right click and then properties. And then this one, TCP/IP. This is the IP address, static. This is the gateway, also static. And this is DNS. So DNS is on the server itself. So this server is actually a web server and also a DNS server. So we can ask, what is the IP address of server.mynet.id? Then the DNS server will return, oh, server.mynet.id has an address, A is an address of 192.168.1.101. Oh, okay. So then I'm going to ask to this IP address. So in DNS server, the purpose of the DNS server is just for translating from name to IP address. Server.mynet.id is the name. 192.168.1.101 is the IP address. So the purpose of the DNS server is to translate name into IP address, or vice versa, from IP address to name. Okay. Now, we already discussed about the HTTP. So we already finished this one. We already discussed about the ping, and then we also discussed about how HTTP traffic works, and then HTTPS works, and also the DNS, how the DNS works. Okay, we're not going to discuss about how to set up a web server. Instead, we're just going to use it. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. If not, then yes.
No, sir.
No. Okay. So the key pointer about today's discussion is the what's the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. Remember about the Wireshark, and then what's the difference between accessing the IP address with accessing the name. Okay. Now after that, you can just try to execute the quiz number 2. I believe this will be open around 5 p.m. and the due date is tonight. And the time limit is 10 minutes, and the attempt allowed is only 1, so no retake. Okay. Okay, a little bit exhausted but today. Thank you for coming. And wait, I need to open my camera again. Okay, thank you for coming, and don't forget to do the quiz because it will be your attendance, and also the score will be counted toward your final score, and the due date is tonight. Okay, I'll see you next week. Next week we're going to discuss about something more interesting, which is the firewall. Interesting. Okay, see you next week then. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.